Welcome to another episode of Wealth Builders. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore, and I'm here with our host, the man with the plan. As always, my good friend, great buddy, Anthony Cangemi. Anthony, thank you so much for having me on the show. You've got a great one lined up for us and for the listeners out there and viewers today. But before we get into that, I have to say, we're here in the thick of it. We're headed into the big holiday season. This is going to be our last new episode of this year of 2025. We'll run a couple of best ofs, and then we'll be back for the new year. But Anthony, how have you been? It's been a crazy time. You've got a big Christmas party for your clients coming up this week. You've got a lot going on there trying to help your clients wrap up things for this year, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. Thank you so much for being here as well. As I mentioned before, we really, you're such an asset to this show. And so we really don't feel the show would be nearly what it is without our co-host, Tony Shore.
Thanks.
So we really appreciate that. Appreciate you. And yeah, Tony, you're right. I mean, the end of the year planning, required minimum distributions, final tax planning, it's always kind of a crunch time for us. Just kind of servicing our clients and making sure that no stone is left unturned. And it really is important, Tony. And, I've said this before, and I'm feel it and mean it more and more each year that goes by. It's one thing to have a retirement plan, and it's something else to have a retirement partner that you're working with year in and year out to continue to maintain and elevate that retirement plan. Things change. We have the big, beautiful bill this year.
Yeah.
And so, of course, there's tax advantaged opportunities within the big, beautiful bill. But we didn't have that in 2024, right? So what I'm saying is, as time goes on, the partner that you have that's helping you to maintain your retirement plan and keep it relevant as things change is so important. And we take that partnership with our clients, very seriously. We know that our clients have done the very same thing in their careers, right? Whatever profession they were in or whatever career they had, they were very diligent, right, with their customers, with their clients. And that's why they were able to retire the way that they are able to retire. And so just as proficient and as professional that our clients have been in their careers to get to this place of retirement, we recognize that commitment, and we certainly feel the same way about our position and relationship with our clients. We just want to offer the very best service, and we know that service and maintaining those retirement plans, being tax efficient, estate planning laws that change, making sure that their documents are current, and just maintaining the plan overall. And I know we'll be talking about what the aspects of those plans might look like. But yeah, Tony, the end of the year is always pretty hectic for us.
Yeah. It is a busy time. And as people go into the holidays, I know they get busy with family and gifts, but you also need to be prepared for the coming year. End of the year, by now, hopefully you've gotten those things done, your required minimum distributions, your tax planning for the future and for the past year and the coming year done. But if you still have questions, I want to encourage our listeners, Anthony, before we jump into our topic head first, to contact you. You need to be, like you said, you have to be working with a trusted financial services professional. It's not just enough to say, well, I've got a 401k. I think I have a plan in place. I want to retire when I hit this age and I've got some retirement funds. Well, everything's changing. The landscape changes. Are you doing everything you can to minimize your tax burden? And are you looking at what you're doing now, how it will affect your taxes in retirement? Or if you're already in retirement, what are you doing to make sure you're paying as little as possible in taxes, no more than your fair share for sure? And there are a lot of things that the government gives us in the IRS to minimize that tax burden, but so many people don't take advantage of those things. And I want to make sure they're working with a team like you. You work with a team of professionals, you work with tax professionals to help your clients with this. And Anthony, before we go on, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you if they want to set up a no charge, no obligation consultation, ask a few questions, or get a second opinion on where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as always, Crescent City Retirement Group is our website, and all of our information is there. A lot of shows, radio shows, and podcasts that we've done are all housed on the website. Or kind of old fashioned, pick up the phone. We still answer the phone here. There's no AI robot answering our calls. Our phone number is 504-828-2171. And if you listen to the show or have listened and you'd like to ask a question, even an end of the year question, whether it relates to taxes or estate planning or your investments or Medicare. I know that's been a real, of course, that's a hot topic
Yeah, it is.
every year around this time. So if you have any questions at all, use us as a resource. I mean, more than anything, that I would say that's who we are. Is a resource for the community, whether you're a client or not a client. We have a resource line. You can pick up the phone and call us at 504-828-2171. And if we don't have the answer, we will get the answer. But please give us a call and utilize us here at Crescent City Retirement Group.
All right. Sounds good. And I really encourage our listeners to do that. Now, today, we're talking about planning for the new year. And where do you want to start with this topic, Anthony?
Well, I think, Tony, as far as planning for the new year, the first order of business is closing out the old year
Yep.
and saying to yourself, okay, what went well? Was the performance in my investments? How did that go? Did I do everything I could do as it relates to tax planning? Did I spend time with my advisor on tax planning? And going into the new year, Tony, I'm a real proponent of New Year's and New Year's Eve and the old year, falling off, and then the new year,
Yep. Making
coming.
resolutions, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think that it's just, I like the metaphor, I like even though some people will say, well, heck, it's just one day to the next, but it really is closing out an old year and then looking forward to the new year.
Yeah.
And I would say it is good to start with those, if you want to call them, resolutions, goals.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you want to do or accomplish? Kind of big picture objectives as it relates to the new year. I think that it's very important, and not necessarily just financial objectives. Personal objectives.
Right.
Maybe there's hobbies that you want to rediscover that you enjoyed and have kind of gotten away from you, or maybe there is a cause, some type of cause that you feel strongly about and you want to give more time to that cause. Retirees, one of the beauties of retirement is you get your time back, and you're able to devote your time to things that are important to you, whether it be family or grandkids or travel or even different. I have clients that are real big with the animal shelters. They're real. So everybody's got different ambitions and different things that they are real feel passionate about. But I would take a little time throughout the holidays and start asking yourself, doing a little self-reflection. Start asking yourself, what's going to be important to me in the new year? What are some of the objectives I have that I would like to accomplish in 2026?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. Goal setting is a big one, and I think write it down, right?
Oh,
When you
wow.
when you
Yeah,
set goals, write them down and be old school. Get a pen and paper and write them down. Maybe post them somewhere. Financial goals, and make sure that they're achievable goals, right? Don't I think a lot of people set this big long-term goal that's way out, and then, they kind of lose sight of it, or it's not specific enough. So
right.
you have short-term and long-term goals, and I know you've talked about those on the show before. And maybe you know some of those goals are your spending, and so you have to look at a budget, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. So, so many of our clients have achieved retirement because they were very good at budgeting and saving.
Yep.
And in retirement, it's important to have those same types of objectives. What do we have coming in? What do we need, or what are we going to need coming in to maintain the lifestyle that we're looking for in 2026. The reason why this is important, Tony, is because if you noticed in 2025 that maybe your income that you had coming in caused you, especially with inflation, and I mean, nobody has to, tell our listeners that, things just flat out cost more. I
Right.
mean, every trip to the grocery store reminds you of that.
Sure.
And so, what you don't want to do is go into 2026 and say, okay, well, if we get short, we'll just pull money from here or pull money from there, you know, because pulling money randomly from different accounts is not a very efficient plan. It may not be efficient as the way things are invested, and it
Sure.
may not be efficient as in terms of the way things are taxed. So it's better to have those financial goals and say, okay, I see where in 2025 we were, roughly 750. I'm just using this as an example, obviously, but we were short, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10, maybe $12,000 last year, and we would like to increase our income to be able to offset, so we don't have to, when those quarterly or semi-annual or annual bills come in, taxes, insurance, or what have you. We don't just have to randomly go grab funds from somewhere. We can have all that built out into our distribution strategy. So the financial goals, Tony, the budgeting, and budgeting is a word. Lifestyle is another word as it relates to budgeting. It's
Yeah.
not just about the bills. It's also about, hey, what do I want to do this year? And we want to take that trip. So we need to make sure that we plan for it. And so, again, getting your head wrapped around what 2026 is going to look like, what are some of the things you're going to aspire to do, and then build your retirement distribution strategy around that.
Yeah. And setting goals, I know one of the things that you always talk about, Anthony, and that you wanted to touch on today was, setting a goal to have 6 months worth of expenses, living expenses, in an emergency fund, like you say, so you don't have to pull that money out of maybe an investment when it's down. Let's say the market's down. You don't want to have to pay if you have an emergency or need something, to have to pull that money out of your accounts or stocks accounts or your IRA, and be hit with that tax burden or be pulling money out when the market's down. So you need to have funds properly allocated. And so you've got to set those goals to so you have cash flow and what's liquid, what's invested for growth. You still need money invested for growth. But I
Right.
know a big goal of my wife and I is to hit that. We haven't hit that 6 month mark yet of funds in our savings. And you need to do it, don't you?
Oh, 100%, Tony. Part of an investment strategy is that liquidity, that emergency money,
Yep.
and having that 6 months, 9 months, even 12 months to where,
Sure.
hey, we have
Yep.
a big hurricane and we need a hurricane deductible, or we need to buy a new car, or the grandkids need help. That go-to pot of money that's invested, but invested in right now, high yield money market accounts are paying over 4%. So you can get some liquid investments, right, that are readily available. The funds are available, but you can still earn interest on your emergency money. But it's so important to have that 6 months, as you say, Tony, set aside in an account that is earning interest, but it's money available when you need it. And if you structure your income properly, then you're not randomly grabbing money from other accounts when we already know what the lifestyle looks like. We already know what the bills are going to look like, the taxes, insurance. We already have done that budgeting. And so we built an income plan around that. So it's all about structure. It's all about investing appropriately based on what the objectives are for that pot of money. And this isn't overly complicated if you have the tools to be able to break this out. And that's the thing, Tony, that has come a long way from when I started. The technology, the tools, the things that we have available to us today are far superior to the tools we had even 5 years ago. So, having that plan, putting it together, having that financial plan, the distribution strategy, the lifestyle plan, the emergency funds, all of that, Tony, just makes for a peaceful, enjoyable retirement. And at the end of it, that's really the objective, is to have the structure and have the order. And of course, something comes up and you weren't planning it. Well, that happens to all of us. And then, yes, maybe we have to jockey a little bit to overcome those incidences when they come up. But for the most part, we want to have a good plan in place.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely do. It's all about planning. And the planning starts with, writing down goals, then working with somebody like yourself. And I think it's important we go over these steps. It is huge that people have a solid plan in place and know where their money is at and know that it's working for them. That's a big key, and you're always talking about that on every episode. Before we go on, let's remind our listeners of that special offer you have. If they call, I know you're offering a no charge, no obligation consultation, correct?
Absolutely. So just pick up the phone if you're listening and you'd like to get a second opinion on the closeout of this year, 2025, or the planning going into 2026. The number is 504-828-2171. Just ask for me. I'm Anthony. I'll be so happy to take your call, talk to you over the phone, answer any questions you have. That's 504-828-2171.
All right, and let's continue our discussion. I know that a big topic, it comes up no matter what we're talking about, and that is taxes. So, in planning for the new year or 2026, wrapping up this year and planning, you really want to make a goal to max out your retirement accounts, don't you? I mean, and because of the tax advantages there.
Oh, absolutely, Tony. So there's really two phases as it relates to taxes. We have the accumulation phase, and that's when you're working and you're saving, and there's tax implications to your working and saving, and looking at those contributions and making sure that you're doing all you can do in the accumulation phase to keep more of those funds and less going to Uncle Sam. And there are all sorts of retirement plans, whether it be 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans, SEP IRAs for our self employed clients, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs. So many different types of retirement plans for the accumulation phase. Then, Tony, you have the distribution phase, and that's after you've made it, after you've climbed the mountain, and now you have to come down the mountain. That's money coming out, not money going in, money coming out. And the tax implications of those distributions are also very important. You want to make sure you're pulling the right money out of the right accounts. And as we know, Tony, these accounts can be titled in taxed rather, tax types, if you will. You have non-qualified assets. These are assets that you've already paid taxes on, just a regular, let's say, investment brokerage account where the interest and dividends and gains are still taxed, but the original principal cost basis, if you will, is already been taxed. So that's the non-qualified. Then you have the pre-tax or the qualified assets like your traditional IRAs, 401ks, where you haven't paid taxes on any of that money. So everything that comes out of those accounts are all taxed as ordinary income. And then you, of course, have Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, where all of the money you put in and the gains are all tax free. So I said all that to say, when you're in this distribution phase, when money's coming out, the coordination of pulling the money out of the right accounts at the right time based on how they're taxed to be efficient, a tax efficient distribution strategy is so important, Tony. And again, if we didn't have the tools that we have today, I just know that we are many times more effective in our planning today, just simply because of the technology and the tools. And so I would encourage our listeners, if you're in the accumulation phase where you're still saving and still working toward retirement, or if you've already achieved retirement and you're in the distribution phase, taxes and tax planning has to be paramount.
Yeah. Yeah. And you want to minimize that tax burden. That is huge, obviously. I think that's a big part of it. And also, you have to get those documents together. You have to be have a trusted team like yourself and those there at Crescent City Retirement Group to help. I know this is something you look at for your clients and work alongside their CPAs, things like that. So I think obviously we talked about an emergency fund. We talked about taxes, another plan for the new year, and we alluded to it, but you want to adjust spending. I know my wife and I sat down, Anthony, and we actually went through our credit card statement and our checking account statement to look at what came in each month for the last couple of months. And we found so much waste, subscriptions that we weren't using for magazines, for streaming services. I cut out about $250 worth a month just in 30 minutes of going through it. We're saving $250 a month. And that is not a made up number. That is not an overestimation. In fact, I'm rounding down. But I don't know if I should be ashamed of that we were overspending by that. But we had magazine subscriptions that we didn't know about or remember. We were paying money in for OnStar that we never use, XM radio nobody was using,
Right.
subscription that just was auto renewing, TV subscriptions that we hadn't, streaming services we hadn't been using. So there were many, many things, and we've done this before, and we still found that much. It had been a couple of years, I'll be honest, since we'd done that. And boy, that's something for the new year. Don't you think that's valuable if people sit down and look at their own personal budgets? You can cut out, that's 250 we can put into our retirement accounts or put into that emergency fund, right?
Oh, absolutely, Tony. Yeah, that's a great, really just looking, at the checkbook, looking at the
Yep.
credit card statements and going through line by line with your significant other and saying, okay, where are we? And with a highlighter maybe,
Yeah.
and just go through, okay, these, certainly we needed groceries, certainly we needed utilities, taxes and things like that, maybe a car payment. But when you get to some of those items that are the variables, let's call them,
Right.
I would highlight all the variables, not the fixed, bills,
Right.
right? Obviously, but certainly, and as to your point too, maybe some even the fixed bills, like look at that cable bill. Okay,
Yeah.
well, what are we paying for? The cell phone, what are we paying for here? And are there, better options?
Yeah.
But
There usually are, right?
uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Tony. And the thing about it is this is your fiscal house.
Right.
This isn't benefiting anybody but you.
Right.
It's you and your wife and your kids and
Right.
your family are the only people that can benefit from this.
Yeah.
And so we spend our time taking care of everybody else, why not look at the things that we can do to take care of ourselves? The old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. And
Yep.
and so again, the end of this year and going into the next year is really a great time to just look at those expenses, look at those variables, and then go ahead and give yourself an allocation. If it's y'all enjoy going out to dinner and you enjoy doing those things, don't cut them out, but look and see what you're spending and then say, okay, what's reasonable? Maybe you'll even enhance the budget on some areas, and then some areas where you say, this isn't, we're not getting anything out of that. So you can trim the fat in the areas that really aren't meaningful, and then you have more funds, whether you save it or you expend it, but in things, and reallocate, if you will, to the
Yeah.
things that are more enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, it's been a great show, but the time flew by. We're already out of time, Anthony. Before we go, one last time, let our listeners know about that special offer you have for them.
Absolutely. Well, let me just say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to our listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in on Sundays, on Sundays, and just listening in. We really do appreciate you here at Crescent City Retirement Group, and the show Wealth Builders has been really well received throughout 2025. We really appreciate all the great comments, emails that we've gotten from our listeners. And we just wish you all a very blessed holiday season and look forward to being with you again in the new year with all of that 2026 has to offer.
All right. And that does it for today's episode of Wealth Builders with our host, Anthony Cangemi.